Burstyn, and I'm the director of the LAJFF Film Festival. I want to welcome you all. Thank you for coming to our closing night of the 20th Annual Festival. So we have a very special program in store for you tonight. We're honored to present the LA premiere of the hottest new TV series to hit Europe, the Zweiflers, which won the Best TV Series Award at the Cannes Series Festival, which is part of the prestigious Cannes Film Festival in 2024. Not only are we thrilled to have the opportunity to show this binge-worthy series, but we're deeply honored to have the series star with us this evening, the international acclaimed performer, Mike Burstyn. Mike is multilingual and multi-talented, and he literally performs as an actor and performer in countries worldwide and in big films and series globally. The Zweiflers is a German TV series, and it's in German and Yiddish and English. And it's about a dysfunctional family. Mike's starring in it. It's also got some adult situations. So anybody who's under 50, you may want to, I'm kidding. But what's even more special about having the Zweiflers today is that it's taking place on Mike's birthday.
Happy birthday, dear Mike. Happy birthday to you.
We're also absolutely thrilled to have with us another very special guest, the director, Anja, where are you? Anja Marquardt. Anja was a fellow at the Villa Aurora, which is one of our partners this evening. So I was so thrilled to find out that Anja actually lives here in Los Angeles. This is a real treat. We're looking forward that after the 2 episodes, we're going to have a Q&A with Mike and Anja, and it will be moderated by our friend David Suissa, president of the Jewish Journal. I would like to thank our partner, the Museum of Tolerance, and Lorraine Seiss and Mark Katrick for being such an amazing partner and for always being open to showing great content together for you, our community. I would also like to thank our festival key sponsor, the Jewish Federation Los Angeles, and tonight's sponsors and partners, including the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany, the Villa Aurora Thomas Mann House, the Goethe Institute, Holocaust Museum LA, and the Jewish Journal. I would also like to thank our many dedicated sponsors, community leaders, and partners. We're grateful to all of you for your support. Each of you has played a dynamic role in making the festival possible year after year. Cinema often reflects the times. It is the common thread that has carried us through challenging times, and it opens our eyes and our hearts to world events and to each other. Hosting this, a Jewish film festival, during difficult times is nothing short of challenging, but absolutely vital. It is essential that our communities stand together in solidarity and come together for events like today's. Cinema is a powerful tool for storytelling and an effective platform to build bridges of peace and understanding in the greater community. I just want to let you know that because this is the last night of the festival, it's not our last screening this year. We have programs monthly, so be sure to check out upcoming programs. You can check on our website. There's more information out in the lobby.
Toda. Thank you so much. I didn't expect to celebrate my birthday with so many people. It's usually just a family, and we go to a restaurant, we go to Benihana, and that's it. But Hillary said this is a special one, so it all worked out beautifully. Thank you.
So I've seen you do a play in English where you were God. In fact,
I was typecasting.
Yeah. He played God. It was one of my great plays. I actually wrote a whole column.
You wrote a wonderful review of that.
God Comes to Pico, I remember.
Yeah. You said you weren't a theater reviewer, but for this play, you decided to write a review.
And then I saw you from English to Hebrew. this film you made a couple years ago, and now you're in German and Yiddish. So the first question that came to my mind as I was watching tonight is, you're not the same person when you change languages. I only speak one other language fluently, which is French. I'm not the same guy when I speak French. I'm someone else. I act differently. Ah oui, je parle comme ça, et voilà. So I was curious, when you're up there, you're not the guy that was doing God in English or the one that was in the war in Hebrew. Talk to me about that. How are you different?
I'm a schizophrenic.
Must be, but it's different than just a different role, because it's a different culture, different language.
Well, you know, I was very lucky. I come from a theater family and traveled with my parents in the Yiddish theater throughout the world from the age of 7. And living in so many different countries and go to school, I picked up not just the different languages, but the cultures, because when you live within the culture, you don't just learn the language. And so living in South America, born in the States, living in South America, living in France, living in Israel, later on in Holland, I find that in our industry, we are really vessels for the author. We get a script or a play, and our job is not to really recreate something, but to transfer it through what I call my vessel, to the audience. And that's something that just happens. This was very unique because, as Anja knows, they were looking for a German actor when they decided to produce this. And it was very courageous of the German television network to produce a wonderful series in our times, in the times we're living in, about a Holocaust family, with a German Jewish Holocaust family. And they were looking for a German actor to portray Simcha. And after searching in Germany, I was told that they didn't find someone who could embody an older man who came out of Auschwitz as a little boy and created this empire and family in Frankfurt, in Germany.
So they came to Los Angeles.
No, actually,
You were in Los Angeles.
I was, yes, but I had my agent in Tel Aviv in Israel. And so they decided they put together a proposal, a pitch with a flyer, and sent it to the agents in Israel. And my Israeli agent, she saw this and she got in touch with him right away and she said,
I got your guy.
I got your guy. And that's how it happened. And so I did know some German from growing up in Israel. There were a lot of German immigrants. But I worked on it, and that's how it happened.
And we're glad it happened. So, what language were you speaking on the set?
I think it must have been a wild mix between English, German, and Yiddish, which I don't know. I don't really understand, but maybe I love the sound of it, and I think that was one of the reasons they sent that flyer to Israeli casting agents, because sadly, there seem to be absolutely no actors in Germany that speak Yiddish, and it was really crucial to have the grandparents' generation, Simcha and his wife, speak Yiddish.
And actually, the other way around, we always said, welche Yid is in Deutsch? When you talk about, for us, the Ashkenazi Jews that speak Yiddish, they say you speak German. Also can Yiddish, Deutsch.
How much of this is Yiddish and how much is German?
For the grandmother, it was all Yiddish.
All Yiddish.
Yeah. The grandmother, they decided her part when she survived the Holocaust and came to, by the way, they were not Jews who had been born in Germany, survived the Holocaust and came back. They were all Polish Jews who were rescued after the war. And Simcha is based on several real-life Jews who came out of the Holocaust, moved to Frankfurt, and worked very hard, and as you will see in later episodes, had to do things that were not really kosher to survive in Germany after the war. Nobody else would do it, and they did it, and eventually got into more proper fields.
They even drove on Shabbos.
Yes. But no, it was, first of all, the crew that we had, the company we had, both German actors and one of them was Mark Ivanir, my dear friend, who is both Ukrainian, immigrated to Israel as a young child, and now is an international actor. And we had what I felt was the most important part of it was getting Anja as you were born in Germany, and to direct this, which I think made it the more meaningful and universal. Because I see this, you know, we were asked why it was such a huge success both in Germany. We then went to many festivals, and it won the Cannes Festival for Best Series. We got three prizes, right? Best Series, Best Music, and the most important one was Best Student. They have an annual
Student jury.
Best Student Jury.
Movie.
Every year they have high school students, local high school students, who come to the festival, and they have their own jury of teenagers, and they also give a prize for Best Series. And we got the Best Student Series. And we asked them afterwards, why did you choose us? There were some other very wonderful international festival series. And their answer was because we recognized ourselves and our families in the Zweiflers. I said, but this is a Holocaust family. And they said, no, this is us. I mean, we recognize our grandfather, our parents, our dilemmas, our lifestyle. And they saw, this is, I think, what made this such a hit, because it's a international, universal story.
Well, for both of you, the best compliment I can give both of you is that it reminded me very much of Schnitzel, which was one of my all-time favorite things I've ever seen. A completely inside Haredi life that became a global phenomenon, where 99.9% of the people who saw the show had no idea about this life. And the more specific it got, the more universal it became. And I felt that in this show. You didn't try to make it universal. You kept authentic to the actual story and the culture and all the Yiddishkeit that was involved with it, and the dilemmas that come with it, and the non-Jewish girlfriend and all the complications. It was very inside.
Well, because it's the story.
Yeah.
I mean, Anja is a storyteller as well. She's a wonderful writer in her own right. But the story, it's all about, we are storytellers. If you tell a story, it doesn't matter, you know, what culture it is.
You know, there's two kinds of Jews in America. One kind of Jew worries about anti-Semitism all day long. They read the news, the Jewish Journal, all day long. That's all they activist, and they complain, and I'm part of them, right? And then there's the second kind of Jew, what I call the artist. My Jewish friends who are artists. They're either musicians, actors, painters, singers, and for some reason, they don't worry that much about anti-Semitism because they're so busy with their art. And I'm always torn between the two, because part of me wants to be the artist that finds that the best way I can fight anti-Semitism is to be a great Jew that does my art. And then the other part of me says, well, you know, we need more security for our synagogue, and I gotta write that column and so forth. You're classically in the second category. Ever since I've known you, anytime I meet you, the number one subject of conversation is what you have going. It's either a film, a play, a show, a new musical theater that you're gonna do. So this is, I've always loved that about artists.
You know, I wanted to ask, thank you, first of all. I wanted to ask, I never got to ask you this. When you were offered this series, were you, cognizant of the stories of these survivors who came to Germany after the war? Did you know much about the Jewish life of Jews in Germany? And did it matter when you got, did they give you the script? Did you read it? And did it matter to you?
Yeah, I read the pilot, I think the day after Christmas in 2023. And then one day later, David Hara and I met at a Chinese restaurant no, we didn't, but we kind of should have. We walked around the block, nothing was open. It was Berlin and closed down for the holidays, so we grabbed a coffee to go somewhere and just walked for 3 hours and found a place to sit down. And I think, you know, I grew up in Berlin, but I've lived in the US for 20 years, I think. Oh God.
Where do you live?
Currently in LA. Yeah, I've been here for the last 8 years, and I was 15 when we went to Auschwitz with our school. Our entire class went, and it was a really profound experience, as you can imagine, for a younger person who's trying to understand what went on in the homeland that, you know, didn't have flags or didn't have pride in anything. It wasn't really a way to be nationalistic in any shape or form. It always seemed very strange to me that in the US, where I would spend a year as a 16-year-old, it was completely not only accepted, but a point of pride to display one's flag in the car, on the front lawn. Wow, what a concept. Well, everything's cyclical, right? So here we are again. Now, you know, not that my experience matters at all, but I think going through what we're going through right now, I do understand how the 30s could have happened. And because I've always wondered that growing up and, you know, getting older. So yeah, when this project came to me, sorry for this long-winded response, but it was really meaningful. It touched me in a personal way as well.
Were you concerned because it's so Jewish? We just saw what happened in England, Glastonbury, and ever since October 7, 2023, it's been a kind of a nightmare. And it seems that the anti-Jewish, anti-Israel vibe just keeps multiplying across the world. And here you're creating this really Jewish, in Germany. Have you gotten any static? Michael, were you concerned?
I'm gonna respond.
Go first.
When the project came to me at the end of 2023, my most immediate feeling was that I can't believe that a story like this has not been told in Germany, because it is about identity, it's about family, it's about a family in the here and now, and it's not about the 40s. But of course it is, but it's not. So I just felt it was such a gem that this script, I think I read the pilot only initially. I just sort of hoped that I would end up working on it, and I will, you know, consider it a great privilege and a great journey of you know, my life to have been part of it and work with such fantastic craftspeople and artists such as Mike. And October 7th happened pretty much halfway through the shooting schedule.
We were shooting in October, yes.
And I think pretty much everyone in front or behind the camera was affected in one way or another.
And Mike, you have family in Israel, obviously.
Family and friends. I was actually surprised when I got the offer because I have to admit that over the years I was bothered by the fact of how could, and I know friends, most of them are gone, but the ones that actually came as children, Polish Jews, and to Frankfurt, I used to meet them there. I used to perform in Frankfurt for the Tel Aviv University, for example, that was supported by all these wealthy, Holocaust survivors. There is one that is still alive today. He's in his 90s. His name is Yosef Buchman. And they were, towards the end of their lives, they were so philanthropic and supportive of everything in Israel. I mean, they built the hotels in Tel Aviv, and you name it. But they lived and had children and grandchildren and lived in Germany. And I could never, it bothered me. It used to bother me, and especially during the holidays, like Passover, Pesach, they would always come to the Hilton Hotel in Tel Aviv and spend the whole holidays. And the children, the little blonde little German Jewish kids running around and speaking German. And the parents and the grandparents at the pool, unfortunately, with the numbers on their arms and coming to Israel on German passports that always used to, I'm ashamed to say, but it used to bother me. How can they? How could they? And when I got the script and we started working on it, for me it was a challenge to get over that and try and put myself, like you said, in their shoes and try and understand why, and I realized that I could not judge them. It's wrong for me to decide that it doesn't look right to me because we can't judge them.
Is it possible that the presence of so many Jews still in Germany has helped soften the government or created more empathy?
Israelis, you mentioned.
Israelis, lots and lots of Israelis.
In Berlin now, it's a phenomenon. I think they say there are about 40,000 Israelis, mostly young couples and young, because the possibilities, especially economic and financial and future, and they're very much received very, very.
Because we hear more anti-Semitism coming out of Ireland, of England, of France, of Spain, than Germany. And that's why I'm surprised. I'm asking whether you guys got any negative feedback, because there's been such a negative vibe with Judaism in Israel over the past couple of years. So you've kind of, no demonstrations, no keffiyas, no intifadas at Khan.
I have a funny story for you. I mean, first the reality. We had I think the original date for this to air on the television station that funded it was supposed to be the fall of 2024. And they decided they wanted to pull it up because after October 7th, they were like, we want to air this as soon as possible. So can you just finish cutting now? So we went to like a breakneck speed of editing and
It was all done here.
Composition. No, it was all done in Berlin, mostly. But then there were some really surreal moments as well. We were shooting, this is after October 7th, we were shooting in Frankfurt. You can see in the streets, like there's a lot of sort of life and a lot of people are living in the streets, and this is around the train station area. Frankfurt is kind of, I don't know what the homeless population is there, but it's severe, and it's just a lot of drug use that's pretty open in the streets. And there also happened to be a lot of nightclubs, and we were shooting in one of the sort of back alleys, and we were shooting the entrance to the supermarket sequence, which I think is in the pilot where they pass into this sort of store. And it was, the exit to that was right in front of a synagogue, a mosque. But it was one of those little metal doors that I only noticed like 5 hours into shooting that it was a mosque, because the people kept coming in and out. We were sort of stealing the shots without shooting people that we weren't supposed to shoot because we didn't have release forms. And it's like, wait, they're here, but they have a purpose. And then I saw the little sign, almost like a just printed on a consumer printer, and then all the security guards that would help us finish our shoots at night at 4 a.m. without our equipment being stolen. They were entirely Muslim, I would say, like 80% of them. They were just, the big guys who had respect in the area and who would, make sure that no other people walk away with hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment. So, and that was really like beautiful in a way, to be there at 4 a.m. we were shooting a movie and shooting a show, and people come together and they just are, and there's nothing political about that.
I also am very proud that the heads of the two networks, the German networks, RAD and ZDF, the national German networks, they were the ones who made the decisions to buy this story, and the courage to say we're going to release it, especially in these days. They felt it was so important, and they took a risk, they took a chance. But I must say that the series has won countless German television and cultural awards.
That helps a lot.
Countless of those. The industry has accepted us, the profession in Germany. And the moment we went to the international festival in Cannes, we figured we probably have a chance. But again, such a unique story, and a Holocaust story in France, okay? When we went up to accept the award, I was wearing my pin, and I think I even had the chain with the dog tag, because I purposely wanted to be on stage in Nice, in Cannes, in France, and what I said was, thank you so much for recognizing it, and I said, Am Yisrael Chai. And after the ceremony, some people came over to me, some Jewish women, to thank me for wearing this publicly, because they said since October 7th, they have removed any sign of jewelry, of any symbol that they, and some of the men don't wear, instead of a kippah, they're wearing a baseball cap. So they said, thank you for doing this, because we can't. It's too dangerous for us in the streets of France to walk around like that.
Well, Mike, you have a very public, you're always out there, you're performing, and you're in shows and so forth. Have you sensed any negative feedback in your world of Hollywood and your artistic world? There's been so much animosity towards Israel. Did that touch you in any way?
Not personally.
With friends of yours in Hollywood?
Yes. The rift between some performers that I knew and others, but it resembles our society at large. That, like Anja said, what concerns me is that people don't know their history. The generation today, and I think that's why this series is so important for the next generation, for the young people in Germany. They're now writing a second season, by the way. And the second season will concentrate more on the second and third generation. for the next, because, I see that young people today, when you mention what's, Anja said she sees a similarity of what could happen because it resembles 1939 or 33. How many people today, young people, even know what we're talking about?
One of the things I find interesting in your show is that it wasn't just melodrama and it wasn't just victimhood. I mean, there's some tough stuff in here in terms of how you had to make it so that you could build your life again and create the whole restaurant and everything. I think that it's not sanitized at all is what I mean. So there was some real authentic, difficult stuff where it shows the fighting side of the Jew to make it.
Well, these children who came out of Auschwitz, the men, many of them were assisted by the American GIs when they liberated the camps. These were 9 and 10-year-old kids who remained with no family, and they took them along with them and adopted them, and they finally wound up in Frankfurt. They helped them start, their life again by giving them, from the PX, they gave them chocolate and cigarettes and nylon stockings and matches to sell on the black market. And so they started that way. Eventually, and unfortunately, but that is, you'll see that in the next episodes of the series, because that's the problem that Simcha faces when he wants to sell his business, because they had to do things that, to take advantage of their survival. They went, as young men, the entire red light district of Frankfurt was built and owned by these young men. They started that way. They made a lot of money doing that, and cafes, and from there, eventually, in their later years, they started buying up real estate. And they or their families own a lot of the real estate of Frankfurt. And as a result of that, they started being philanthropists and being more respectable, supporting political parties. So that's really the story that comes out of this Simcha.
And it's great that you did not sanitize it. That, the hard stuff is in here, and I think it makes it more authentic. So, are you telling me there's a second season now? Have you seen the scripts? I hope you're going to direct.
I think they're still under wraps. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
I heard a rumor
the second season.
that unfortunately, I hope it's not true, but that they have eliminated the older generation. That's Simcha and Lilka.
Well, they can't do that.
They can.
You need Ziggy, you need you. I mean,
You think so, but
it's what you did in the past to get there, the threats that he gave you when he came out in the press. For me, that's the most interesting part of the show, Mike.
and well, you have to see the last episodes because they're really cliffhangers. I see this so much like what's the American series called?
Succession.
Succession. This is a German Succession.
With a touch of schnitzel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well done. Did everybody like it? So, Mike, what else are you working on? I mean, I'm afraid to ask.
Well, the situation, as you know very well, we live here in Los Angeles for the last many years, and used to travel constantly to Israel, but over the years, it was first, COVID prevented us from traveling and working, then October 7th happened, and now the war, so it's been very difficult, obviously, physically to get to Israel. But here in LA, as you know, the industry is suffering from the economic crisis, and from the political crisis. And there's not a lot of work for us especially in film and television. Since the strike, much of the work left and went to Canada or to Atlanta or to Arizona or Texas. So it's a struggle for people in our business here in California.
And how about you?
Yeah, it's true. The industry is changing very rapidly. We can only cross our fingers and go see movies in the theater and pay for it. But I've been writing for the last few months on a different show, which is something I've sort of
You
shepherded
shot this a
forward.
while ago, right? So it was like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, we finished work on it in Q1 of 2024. And I worked on something that was actually shot in Atlanta in the fall, and that will air, I think, Q1 of next year.
And is this on Netflix? Where is it? Like,
No, that is one of my hopes, and it's very
should pick it up.
that one of the streaming services should pick this up. I know that they have been pitching it. I believe they've been trying. I have a suspicion, and I hope I'm wrong, that in our political environment right now, the people like Netflix and others may not have the courage of the German television networks to show this. I mean, they showed Stissel because it was less controversial, but a series about the Jewish Holocaust families, they'll show Holocaust stories, which are the survival stories. This is not that. This is not really a Holocaust series. It's a series about a family who happen to come from the Holocaust survivors, but it's not what you typically, see. The Holocaust stories are the horror stories.
Absolutely. It's a great story.
This is something that I believe is more important than showing, the horrors, because they've seen that already.
Well, from what I hear, there's a few Jews who work in Hollywood.
They're the worst. Believe me, David, they are the worst. I've encountered many in the past.
You want to stay on
vice presidents of networks and in charge of programming, and they are the ones who are trying their best to be, just the Caribbean pirate series.
Great. Well, look, I'm not saying this because I love the show, but I really think there's potential for Hollywood to pick it up. Not to do us a favor at all, but just because it's a great story and it's well shot and it's well done.
And that's why we showed it.
Yeah.